If you walk 4 kilometers north and 5 kilometers east, how far are you from where you started? First things first, I love drawing pictures with these types of problems. Let's draw a picture. And we'll label each one of these sections as a vector. So 4 kilometers north. 4 kilometers north. And then 5 kilometers east. Okay, so here's my first leg, and I'll call this V1 vector, because it has not only a magnitude, but it has direction as well. And this one, we call it V2 vector. Okay, and we're asked for how far or from where you started. We'll call this one here V final vector. And what do we want? We want what? That doesn't say want, that says want. We want magnitude of V final vector. Okay, so how do we get V final vector? Well, the addition V1 plus V2 will equal the final vector, because I could either walk here and there and get to this point, or I could just walk straight there and get to the exact same point. So V1 vector plus V2 vector is equal to V final vector. They're the equivalent. They're the exact same. You get to the same spot. One might be a little less efficient. So let's try to put this in mathematical terms. We will use vector format. So vector 1 is going to be equal to, well, what's in the x direction? I have to label that first. Here's my x direction, and here's my y direction. So in the x direction is 0, x hat, plus, what's in the y direction? The y direction, it was 4 kilometers, y hat. V2 vector, there's no z direction here. We don't need to include that. V2 vector, well, what do we have? Well, it's positive. See, this indicates positive. So I know that it is never eat soggy worms, but really it's just negative and positive. It's only 2 dimensions. North, east, south, west does include 4, but really they're just, north is positive y, where south is negative y. So it's still just in the y direction. So we only need to include x and y. We don't need to write down north, east, and south, and west. So vector 2 is in the positive x direction, which is east. So it's going to be 5x hat plus 0 y hat. Nothing in the y direction. It was just this. Okay, and now let's add these two together. Now, when we add these two together, y's only play with y's, and x's only play with x's. So y's add together, so it's going to be 4y hat. And this will be 0 plus 5 will be 5x hat. And this, well, we already said that V1 plus V2 is going to be equal to V final. That's what the solution is. So V1 plus V2 is equal to V final, and there it is. But we didn't want that. We want to have the magnitude of it. So let's try to figure out what the magnitude of this thing is. Magnitude of this vector is going to be equal to the square root of the Vx component of the final squared plus the Vy component of the final squared. And that's what these guys are. This is the vector final x component, or vector final y component. Not magnitude, because they're just components. I did flip. I apologize for that. It's a little loose here. Final x direction or x direction final. They do mean the same thing, and if it was a little tighter here, I should have done that correctly. But it's a little loose on that. So here we go. So what's this? This is going to be 5 squared plus 4 squared, square root answer. And this is going to be equal to 6.4 kilometers.